Hi everybody, welcome to Adventures in Art, and this week we are going to be doing a cactus. So this is what the finished painting will look like. So the first thing we need to do is make a sun. So take your yellow, I'm going to use this brush, and we're just using straight yellow. So just make it up in the corner. Try to keep it round when you paint. Keep your stroke marks around the edges round, and then you can just kind of fill in the middle. So it's about that big. You can make it a little bit bigger, you can make it a little bit smaller. Doesn't matter, you're perfectly fine with whatever you make. And then what we're gonna do is, actually I'm gonna put a little yellow on my plate. And I'm gonna take a little orange also. And then, actually, I am going to turn this to make it easier for me to paint it. Oops, and I just put my thumb in it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to paint it kind of so it revolves around the sun. So it's going to go like the stroke marks are going to go this way. So it looks like it's coming out from the sun. So first, after you do that, we're going to mix a little bit, and you don't have to mix it together. Just kind of mix it on your brush. And I'm going to kind of make a circle a little further around it. And I'm going to work my way towards it, and I'm going to overlap it a little bit. Fix this a little bit. Okay. So kind of, and then make sure it's still round looking. You might lose the shape a little bit as you're doing this, which is why sometimes it's better to start out a little bigger. Okay, so now I'm just gonna patch in these few spots that I missed. And now the next part, it's kind of up to you how much you want in the orange. See how I'm going rounded around the sun? That's what you want to do for the sky. That's the rest of the sky part. So any of the orange, which is then going to turn into red, you're going to want to do the same thing. So the first part I'm going to start out that's more yellow and orange combined. Now without washing off my brush, I'm going to go and I'm going to just make orange and then kind of work my way up into the yellow orange. And you're going to kind of blend the colors. And everybody's is going to be different, which is fine, because my old one isn't going to come out the same way as my new one. So I'm going to go about there with the orange, and see how I blended the yellow orange into just the straight orange. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some red and now I'm going to add the red. Enough in my brush. My red's a little bit old and it got a little too thick. So now I'm going to add red, And I'm going to work it into there. And you know what? I think I'm going to add a little bit of orange to it as well. And blend them together at that point. Sometimes my brush doesn't get into the canvas all the way, the texture of the canvas. So see how I'm still keeping it round. But I still keep it round. And then you're just going to gradually add red. Boy, that is very lumpy paint. And you're going to keep going around. But now I'm just going to use strictly red. And it's up to you how far down, because then you're going to put some little mountains on the bottom, little kind of hills. Not really mountains, more like a hill. So I'm going to take some more red, and I'm going to work my way this way. Alright, I am going to turn this around. So now I can reach this side better, because I got to finish this side up. And if you want your red and your orange to blend a little bit more, you can. You just don't want a big sharp line going from orange to red. Okay, and then the rest of this, just gonna hurry up and finish up. And try to keep it nice and light, because then we're gonna have the mountains, little hills on the bottom. So kind of how far down you go is kind of gonna be how far your hills on the bottom are gonna be. Okay, so now that that is done, we need it to dry a little bit. So make sure yours is drying really good. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the bottom part of the hills. I'm going to put my browns on here. So I've got a light brown, and I've got the dark brown, darker brown. Get that off of there. Okay. So let yours dry for a while, but since I can't do that because I have to get going with it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the dark brown and I'm going to make my hills so kind of like that. And then I'm going to paint in the one that's in the background. I'm going to paint that darker. If you get some red in it, it's fine because you kind of want some more color in it. You could take mostly the dark and you can add also a little bit of light to it, but keep it mostly dark for the ones that are in the back. But it looks good too if you add more color to it to give it kind of more dimension. You can even add a little orange to it just to get some stripes in there that are, you know, like another color. Get some other variants of color in there. So it's up to you how much color you get in here. but go ahead and paint it. And when you're painting the hills too, do the same thing. Follow the shape of the hill like that. Don't worry if you have a white spot in the middle, because if it's only right in the middle, you're going to be okay, because the cactus is going to cover it up. So it will be fine. All right. So do your hills in the back when your other part is dry. Now I'm going to try to, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to end up making it way too wet. Now I would, if I were you, let your hills dry before your two dark hills in the background. Let those dry before you go on to the light one in the middle, because they're going to blend together too much otherwise. So I can't, wait for it to dry. So what I'm going to do is, it's going to kind of smush together, but it'll just have to be. So then I'm going to take my light brown, and I take a little bit of yellow with it. And I'm going to make, once your hills are dry, then come back and do this, and you're going to make another hill kind of right in the middle that's going to be lighter. So you should have 3 kind of hills, but the one in the middle should definitely be lighter and show up. You could add either some yellow to it, or you could add some white to it. Mine is way too wet right now, so no matter what I do, it's going to pick up the dark color underneath. So it's not going to turn light enough. So that's why you need to wait till yours is dry before you do this next part. So we're going to pretend like my little hill in the middle is lighter in color. So then after you do all your hills, wait for them to completely dry before you go on. So I'm going to wait for a few minutes. I'm going to see if I can do this with just pausing it. So I will be back. Okay, mine is a little bit dry, but it's not drying very fast. So I'm going to continue on anyway, but make sure yours is completely dry before you go on. The next step is, I'm going to take kind of a smaller brush, and I'm going to take just yellow. Let me get a new napkin. Okay. So I'm going to take just yellow, and we need to make the lines, see the lines that are around the sun? We need to make those next. So that's all you're going to do is, actually I'm going to move this so I don't knock it over, is just make some short dashes of yellow paint spread out. They don't have to be real long. They don't have to be exact. They don't have to be, perfect order. Just kind of, it's supposed to be like the sun shining out, like radiating out. Go as far out as you want. You might want to just stick it close like that, or you may even want to go further. It's up to you. I'm going to go one more layer. Kind of like it when it goes more in the orange too. Kind of like that. If you have any part of the top showing over here, the sky too, other than the yellow, make sure you get some up there too. All right, so just like that. Okay, now the next thing is to make the color of the cactus. So we have this bluish green color. We're going to use that. Off. And this is not the color of the cactus, but it's a start. we're going to mix some yellow into it. Now, how much yellow you're going to need is up to you on what shade of green you want this. This is still too much blue, so I'm actually going to add more yellow, but I don't want to get it all over this brush. Do it with this one. In case I need any more, I'm just going to put this there. Okay. Here's my cap. So it's kind of up to you what shade of green you want your cactus. I'm going to go with this color. And it's going to look different on your from your paper plate than once it gets on your painting too. It's not going to, because the color is the background color is darker. So what you're going to do now is you're going to paint a cactus. You're going to start down on your hill. Make sure if you have any white patches, you cover them up. And then I'm going to do the outer part first. And this is not going to cover all the way, which is fine. And mine is still wet, so remember it's going to probably pull up the color from the background. Yeah, my cactus is crooked. Oh well. And then you also want to make some arms on your cactus. So don't line them up across from each other. Try to put them spaced out so one's up higher and one's down lower. Kind of like that. Or you could put them a little closer. And then go ahead, after you do your shape, go ahead and go back and fill in your cactus with the green. If you have a lot of the background showing through, you can make a thicker layer of paint. But definitely before you continue on, you're going to want to make sure you dry it really well. You let it dry for a while, which is one good thing about doing your paintings at home, is you can let it dry for a while and walk away. I can't really do that when I show you though, unfortunately. So go ahead and paint your cactus in, the entire cactus. If a little bit of the background shows through, it's fine. Because once we put the parts on the top of it, like where all the needles and the stripes are, you won't even see it. Because mine showed up, the background underneath it showed up a lot more until I finished off the cactus. So it'll be fine. Oh, I made this cactus a lot bigger than my last one. A lot wider. But it's up to you how big of a cactus you ended up with. Okay. Just make sure you fill it all in. When you get to the arms, try to not make the arm part go into the main body of the cactus. It'll look better if the line was up there so it doesn't so you don't do this. If you do that, it'll look funny, so just go back and smooth that over so it goes upward and follows the cactus. So you can see a lot of my background showing. Like I said, you let yours dry for a while before you continue on, because you can. And I'm going to keep going. So let yours dry. Doesn't help too much when you blow on them anyway. Okay, while that is trying to dry a little bit, what we're going to do is we need to make another color. We're going to use this color for the background part for the needles, and we're also going to take the bigger brush just because it scoops better. I'm going to take some white And I'm going to add some of this green to it, a little bit at a time. Because remember, when you use a dark color with a light color mixed, you need a lot less dark and a lot more of the light color. So it's better to add a little bit at a time. And then it's up to you how dark you want it. But you definitely have to have it lighter than this. Otherwise you won't even notice it. So I'm going to stop there and go this dark. Get some of that paint off the brush. Mix it in a little bit better. Okay. So now you got to decide. Do you want light stripes or dark stripes? I went dark stripes last time, so I'm going to continue this time with the dark stripes. So what I did is I made some lines with the bluish green color first. So I'm going to take, just this color, and I'm going to kind of outline the arm. See if you have a small enough brush that you can outline it. And mine is not going to show up real good because of the fact it's still so wet. It's kind of blending together. But I'm going to outline the arm, and then I'm going to kind of follow the sides and also outline that. Because the big cactuses like this kind of almost have like a stripe in them, because it's like where the groove goes in, and then the needles are there too. So that's kind of what we're making this look like. It's kind of like the stripy parts of the big cactus. I don't think I could get that without getting my arm in it. Turn. I think I'm going to leave it facing this way because it juices better on an angle. Okay, so go ahead and outline your cactus, and then you're going to want to go through and you're going to want to make some stripes. So my arms, the arm areas are big enough that I can do, say, 2 stripes on each one. So just kind of make a skinny line, skinny as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, like all the way through where you could see it, just so you can see most of it, so you can at least get the idea that it's there, like that. And then I'm going to turn this a little bit more to get a better angle. I'm going to make several stripes down it. And this is where mine's really going to blend together because it's so wet, which is why you want to make yours, wait for yours to dry. So I'm going to kind of follow it along. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect where you can see it all the way really good. And then this is wide enough that I can do a second stripe. And on this side as well. I made mine so much wider this time. All right. Like I said, yours will show up better if you let yours dry. And now that we have the stripes in it, it's almost kind of like, sort of like a watermelon with the stripes. What you want to do now is you want to take the same color and you just want to make kind of little marks, like to make it look like where the needles are. And you just want them to stick out a little bit. So it's kind of like sort of a dot, then kind of like a little line. So you kind of want to do it like this, just because you want it to show up so it looks like that's where the needles are. So your lines might be skinnier and they might show better. And you also want to do it on the edge because you want it to look like the needles are sticking out like they would on a cactus. So kind of just do that around. You can make them a little further apart if you want, it's up to you. And then do them on the stripes, but so they stick out a little bit from the stripe. So you want to go all the way around the outside. I should have used a smaller brush. My line's getting a little bit too big, but it's okay. It'll be fine when it's done. If you have a real skinny brush, you can kind of make a cluster of lines. Like you can, if I have a really skinny brush, I can kind of do like this, which is kind of what I did the first time. So it looks like 3 little needles together coming out from the cactus. But this time I have a bigger brush and I'm just going with 1. So then just do it through all of your stripes, kind of like that. All right, I'm not going to do all of mine, but I did want to show you. So like on here, I'm just going to go this way with it. Just going to do it at the top where you can see it right now. And don't forget to do the other arm as well. So it's going to kind of look like this, but all over. All right. And then what you're going to do after you do all of those, you're going to go back and you're going to do the same thing with this color, but you're not going to make a stripe. What you're going to do instead is I made dots all the way down like this. So kind of look for a smaller brush. You can just go like that on the end. See how I did it? Probably space it about as much as you did with the other ones. And just keep going in the same places. And then I did it also on the dark line, but not as often. I just kind of scattered them a little bit more, just so it would have a little bit more color on the dark line where it shows up. And then the same thing on the end as I did it there too, but like not as many. So I didn't do it between every single dark one. I just did it kind of periodically here and there like that. Just because you just want to make more texture, but you don't want it exactly balanced everywhere. You don't want it exactly perfect side to side so it looks the same. Like I said, just do it on this one, on the dark part, here and there. No rhyme or reason, just where you think you need it. So then, when you are all done, you will have something looking approximately like this. Okay, so just go back through, fill in all of the light ones and the dark ones. Just match kind of the lines that you did with the dark ones. And then with the light ones, I just did it in between the dark ones. And then I just did it periodically in with the dark ones. Like I said, they don't match exactly, which is fine. You don't want them to be exactly perfect. But that was it. And then after you do that to your entire cactus, you are done. All right, try to get it where it's not too much glare from the light. There you go, you can see it a lot better that time. So just look at the sample picture, you'll be able to figure it out, okay? So it's got the dark and then it's got a little light in between. All right, that is it for this week. Next week's painting is already posted on the website, so you can go ahead and watch that one whenever you want. And then the bags will be ready soon. So you are all set. All right, see you next week.